welcome to episode 7 of the CopTalk podcast. I'm once again joined by Mark and Jim Lambert. Mark, how you doing tonight?
Good. Hello, Modesto.
Why Modesto?
So I just heard that on 104.1 The Hawk, and I thought it was cool to give shout-outs. Hey, speaking of shout-outs, Alex
Why you got to
Kansas.
say it like that? Why can't you just say, hey, what's up, Modesto? Hello, Modesto?
Because that's the way they said it. That's the way they said it on 104.1 The Hawk. So I decided to do that.
You're talking about the weather guy.
Anyway, let me give the shout-out to Alex in Kansas. He's a listener of ours. Hello, Alex. And he actually came up with a question that I don't know if we're going to get to it this time around, but we will get out to his question. And by the way, anybody listening, let us know where you're at. We'd like to give you a little shout-out. Just give us a call. Let us know where you're listening from. We'll give you a little shout-out.
You sure you want them to give us a call?
Yeah, if you're from Kentucky, you can hear Mark say, hello, Kentucky.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Hey, yeah, if they're in Hawaii, that could sound pretty good. So.
Yeah, you could say, never mind. So obviously,
hey,
Jim.
we forgot to ask Jim how he's doing. Jim,
I think we already know. I think it's made clear that he's doing just fine.
I got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I'm all for jumping right into the news and questions if you guys are.
Go for it.
All right, so...
Wait, what show is this? I don't think you finished
that's right.
introducing
you have a website?
it. No, Mark jumped in and said, hello, Tennessee.
Do we have a website and a book? You got to introduce us, Brent.
All right, so... As most people that listen to the show know,
but for our new listeners,
okay, so we'll give a shout out to them, but we don't know where they are. So Jim, quiet now. So, so our website coptalk.info. You can ask us a question on the site. There's a form that you can fill out to send it to us anonymously. You can email your questions. You can sign up for our email newsletter, and you can also take a couple seconds to read our disclaimer page, which is becoming very popular. So,
but better yet, you could read about the book that my brother Jim, hello Jim, and I wrote called CopTalk to help keep people safe from becoming victims of crime. And you could get lost in that website. It basically says who, what, where, how, and when the book was written, why, and you can spend hours in there with all the stories and tips and everything else. It's free to keep yourself safe. And if you want to buy the book, you could buy the book there too.
Or you could tune into the show weekly if we can actually make it and do the show weekly because of our schedules and other nightmares that have been happening lately. Welcome to law enforcement.
But we don't want to end up like dirty jobs, like I say every week. We need people like hello Modesto, to write in and let us know where they're listening from, and we need to build our listener base. So let us know where you're at.
Hey, Mark, say that with Cucamonga. Can you pull that one off?
Hello, Cucamonga!
That was pretty good there, Brent. Hey, tell us what city you're in, and we'll give you that hello in that phrase. So we'll see how it sounds wherever you're at.
Cucamonga, that's got to be the coolest word for a city on the planet. But so the other thing that we are going to start doing, I think, here on a couple of shows is for the people who do send in some questions and we use them on the show, I think we'll be sending out some. Yeah, we're going to give them some free books. So
free?
Free.
Wow.
That 4-letter word that I rarely say.
Don't we have to vote on that or something? It sounds like it's a done deal already.
Yeah, you weren't involved.
Yeah, okay.
So
being one of the partners who wrote the book, I could see why I'd be skipped on that, but that's okay.
No. It's like the guy who writes the checks. Oh,
hey, did you hear that, Alex, in Kansas? If we do use that the story tip, you're going to get a free book.
That would mean that they actually have to get back to us with their address and that type of information, though.
Oh, so he's probably typing right now.
Awesome. So let's hit the questions, which I'm assuming you guys have not read yet because we've figured out that me asking you questions that are completely off the top are even better than you reading them. So let's jump into the item number 1, which was a study that was done locally here that say, hey, cops mostly stop white drivers. But you know nothing about this, so you want me to give you some background?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, so a local,
where, when, how?
It's so easy when you think about it. So
Nothing
basically,
like being surprised on the air, but go for it, Brent.
yeah, we're going to surprise you right here. So some surprising trends occur or emerged from an 8-year-long study profiling how law enforcement stops are done. It was done by a local police department in the Bay Area, actually. And it basically sums up that about 65% of people that were stopped were white. And of those people, most of them were over 40. And that compared to 10 to 15% black and about 8% Hispanic. And then Asians comprised about 10% and other races about 4%. And I guess, what this, well, it's interesting because it's such a long study. It's 8 years. That's a lot of traffic stops. So a lot of these studies that I've seen in the past are really short. They are, this racial profiling, all this stuff that we see now with the Arizona thing coming into the light, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I guess.
Where was that study done? I mean, you don't have to name the city, but was it one city? Was it a county? Was it nationwide?
Well,
But if you're going to say the city, could you say it like Mark does?
I won't say the city, but I will put the link in the show notes because it's just going to be easier that way. Because when you see the city, you're going to go, wow, really? White people? No kidding. That's what you're going to say.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, is it is it a city? Was it a city study? Was it a county study? What was it? One city?
It is a mainly white affluent community in the Bay Area.
Okay.
That is surrounded, let me preface this, that is surrounded by some of the worst crime cities in all of the Bay Area.
But you know what? That study is going to be so flawed because if you use a city that has mainly African Americans living in it, the majority of people stopped is going to be African Americans. Use a city that has a predominantly white population, the number of stops, of course, is going to show mainly white people stopped. And the same for Hispanics or Asians or whatever. So a study like that, unless that's a nationwide study that took every state into account and did a big national study, those reports are going to be flawed. That it's city by city, it's going to change. So
Brent, I'm going to have to agree with Mark on this one. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer about this. I'm going to have to roll with him on this. Good job, Mark.
Yeah.
Did you really just say that? Oh, you said right or wrong. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think. Well, it is what it is. Yeah, okay, that's Jim for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, people can read more about this study. And
wasn't that the question?
They can. Maybe you should catch up with the group because the group's over here.
Brent, to even close that one out, that one's not even worth discussing, I feel, in my point, because you could do a study in 5 different cities and you're going to get 5 different answers to that, 5 different results on that. That doesn't represent anything except maybe that one particular city. So that,
yeah, well, I mean, I have to say at the bottom of this, it does mention that it looks like the chief mentions that the ACLU had given them a records request at some point, and they decided to do this study and basically gave them the results of the study, and they never called them back. So,
well, I've seen that with some departments. If there's allegations that a certain race is being targeted, some departments will start tracking every citation, every stop, to see the people that are stopped and whatnot. But like I said, every city is going to come up with a different result because all cities have different racial proportions in the city.
Right.
So that was a dumb question, Brent.
Have they ever done a study on how many or what city has the biggest population of idiots? Or is it just broken down in the race? Because the cool thing about doing these podcasts is I get to watch TV while we're doing it. And I'm watching this special on Lady Gaga. Personally, I think Lady Gaga is hot. I would love to take her home, introduce her to my 85-year-old mom and say, Mom, this is the woman I'm marrying. But Lady Gaga is hot. But if she's driving down a predominantly black neighborhood at 2 in the morning, it's not going to matter to me whether it's Lady Gaga, who is, I think, white, or some black person spinning donuts in the middle of the street. The person driving like an idiot is the one that's going to catch my attention. Doesn't matter about the person. It matters about the person's driving. and whoever's acting like a fool behind the wheel is the one that's going to get the officer's attention. So I think what Mark says is totally correct. If you're in an area with a predominantly balanced race of one kind that's driving like idiots, those are the ones that are going to be getting stopped and getting the tickets or getting arrested. It's got nothing to do with race.
Well, that's not what a lot
I'm wrong.
No, that's not what a lot of people.
Or am I wrong?
Lady Gaga, is American Idol already on?
No, she has way more money than American Idol.
No, she's on American Idol tonight.
Oh, and the fact that both of you guys might know that is
see her.
That is completely disturbing to me that either of you care. So back to the point is a lot of people feel that what you said, Jim, is not true. So that's why they ask this question. That's why people ask.
Okay, maybe they're white. I'm wrong.
Look at it this way. If there's a predominantly black neighborhood and you see a white person going in there at 2 a.m, it's going to draw a cop's attention. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to stop them just based on that, but it's going to draw his attention. Every situation is different. And like Jim said, if there's an area where the majority of the population is either white or African American, that's going to be the majority of people that are being stopped because that's the biggest population of that area. So I don't know how that study has any credence for anything, really.
Well, fine. You can think up the questions for the next show.
Well, hey, you asked us the question. We gave you our opinion.
And that's all it's worth.
doesn't mean you have to like it.
Oh, no, I don't like most of the stuff you talk to me about.
And in the book Cop Talk, the 288 pages that can make your life safer, I think there's a whole chapter devoted to car stops and what we look for on the road and what the highest number of violations are for. Speeding, failure to stop, running stop signs, tailgating, turning out of a turn-only lane. I mean, there's a lot of things. And if people just drove responsibly, wouldn't matter what race they were or what time of day it was or what city they were driving through.
It doesn't matter. White, black, green, pink, red. I mean, it doesn't matter. If the majority of people that live in that area are that race, that's the majority that study's going to show. Bottom line.
Mark, I've got a question. How many pink people have you stopped, Mark?
I was going to ask about green. Because that would be awesome.
I've stopped a lot of green people, like right on the verge of puking. Those were some high deuce number arrests, but I've never stopped a pink person. I was just curious as to how many.
I guess we could call them pale. How's that, John?
Pale.
They're pale.
No, because then we'd be racially profiling. So let's move on.
Let's move on.
So
let's move on.
Hello,
Modesto.
Hello, Hartford.
Well, today we're going to say hello to Oakland because Oakland PD killed Bambi.
Oh.
In the backyard of a house.
Was this racially motivated?
With somebody videotaping it.
What race was Bambi?
Deer.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
Was it a majority? Was it an area where the majority of the things living there were deers?
No. Bambi was definitely out of the element.
No,
I guess the buck stops there. Right?
I might have to erase this entire show.
Sorry.
Look, we'll just say 20 minutes in, Jim says another thing stupid. Okay, cool. Here we go.
Yeah.
So
I saw that on the news. And
yes.
I gotta say, I don't know all the details, but it wasn't like the deer was trying to crash through a window into a house. It wasn't like it was charging people. It didn't look like it was in danger and, running through traffic. It was basically cowering in the back of a carport.
I think it was a backyard, yeah.
Well, it was cowering next to a fence. It wasn't going anywhere.
Yep.
And I guess they said the police officers and animal control said they did not carry tranquilizers with them and weren't trained to use them.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know what
was
the
deer armed. Was the deer armed?
In my opinion,
only with a red nose, dude.
Had they been in fresh pursuit of the deer?
No, somebody, the security guard for that complex was in pursuit of the deer, and probably what caused the traumatic incident.
I think it was a shoplift. It shoplifted some carrots, and they were in pursuit of them.
So basically, we have a trespass. We have an
Before-
obstruction of justice because the officers probably asked the deer to identify itself, and it probably didn't answer. So that's an obstruction of justice and a refusal to identify one's self. So that's 2 crimes that I'm seeing right there.
You know, how much coffee did Jim have tonight? Because he is just on a roll with every topic tonight. Usually he has nothing. Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted,
I wish Jim
I
had
don't
nothing.
I don't know what the problem would have been.
You know
with
those
everybody
pellets
just-
that deers dispense when I mean, you can always tell where a deer's been, right? I mean, maybe it was
Brent-
littering too. That would be 3 crimes.
Brent, we'll
If
just
they
let
scared
Jim.
they scared the pellets out of the deer. That's 3 crimes that I can think of.
So I have a question. Why would animal control not be able to use or be trained in some kind of tranquilizer? You guys have dealt with animal control a lot. Why would they not be able to tranquilize this poor Bambi and put Bambi back up in the hills where Bambi
Well,
belongs?
you know, you see it in I don't know who was it that responded in San Francisco when that tiger got out. They shot and killed that one, but they use tranquilizers. There's agencies that use tranquilizers, and I don't know if it's animal control or Fish and Game. Maybe they should have tried to call Fish and Game in if they carry them. But I don't see the issue with why didn't everybody just go away and let the deer wander and go back home up into the hills where it lived. I didn't see
Mark's
what the big
such a
issue
big
was.
advocate of tasers. We talked about tasers a couple weeks ago. Why didn't they tase it, throw it in the back seat, drive it up in the hills, let it go? I mean,
You know,
Mark said when you get tased, it totally immobilizes you.
You're right, Jim. They could have tased it and put handcuffs on it.
I'm curious, though. I don't believe that in our training
That'd be
for
hoof cuffs.
tasers, we had that covered.
That'd be hoof cuffs, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just not aware of
If you
deers having
tased me, there'd be pellets coming out of me. I could tell you that. So
that's just wrong.
So I mean, is this?
We could have done without that, Brent.
So is this guy? I mean, the guy that they interviewed, I sort of agree with him. He's right. I don't think that they handled that right.
Apologized today. From what I heard, they apologized. And in my opinion, I mean, normally I'm not one to judge police departments. I wasn't there, but like I said, the deer wasn't.
I mean, it was on video.
Endangering anybody. It wasn't breaking windows. Like, you know, you see some of them crash through a window into a store or something. It was just sitting there cowering. And if they just went away and let it wander back home, maybe they were afraid it was going to go out into traffic. But I think it was contained. They could have called Fish and Game or somebody to come in that had a tranquilizer to tranquilize it, not just sit there and pump 5 or 6 rounds into it.
Was it prowling?
What?
Was it prowling?
Will you stop trying to find something
don't beat a dead horse
illegal?
or deer in this case.
Yeah, it's not a dead horse. Sounds like it's a dead deer. Brent, how long have you had that pellet problem?
It's an ongoing problem.
Nice.
I'm seeing somebody about it though. So, all right.
A veterinarian?
I can't say it on the air.
Maybe he doesn't use protection if you listen to our last show.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's not protecting his device. But
so moving right along. Teenager allegedly involved in 28 armed robberies, arrested in Hayward, California. So this was a guy that was arrested after burgling like 20 homes and about 8 armed robberies and several other things in the entire area around Hayward and Oakland and up into the hills and all over the place. And it was just one of those things that it looks like there's one that has been won by the police department over there for that.
Well, that proves that our judicial system works when somebody like that is out to do that again, right? That's a hot topic for Jim there.
Was he out to do it? Was he out to do it again? Or did he just get away with 28 of them before we actually caught him? That's my question.
How old is he?
A teenager.
Well, is he like 16, 17? Or is he like 13 or 14?
16.
Try him as an adult. See you when you're 35, dude. Later.
Well, at least the California Youth Authority until he's 25. Yeah, the juveniles get a slap on the wrist. They don't fear the punishment, so they just keep doing the crimes.
Yeah, may be responsible for 28 different armed robberies in Hayward and nearby communities that have occurred in the past 2 months at various convenience-type stores. So basically walking in, brandishing, getting a Slurpee, I guess. I don't know.
Nice.
So, I mean, he got 28 of them, and then he got caught.
He's lucky he didn't walk into the store where the clerk has the gun under the counter and grabs that.
Yeah, well, part of me says that Darwin's theory wins in that case.
Well, 16 years old, he's going to get a little bit of time, and he'll be right back out to do it again.
Well, and his partner in crime was 17, so he's pretty much, 17 to 20-year-old, I guess he's still at large. So,
Nice.
Okay, so I get pretty big case in Contra Costa this week, which was this 25 arrested in the marijuana sting that went down. I don't know if you guys were.
So we shoot a deer, but we don't shoot the 17-year-old armed with a gun doing 20 armed. I'm sorry, I was just doing some thinking. Go ahead. Next topic.
Yeah, you should really avoid thinking out loud. It's dangerous. So, 25 people arrested in a huge marijuana sting, Contra Costa. Does that ring a bell? Were you guys involved in that?
I wasn't.
No, I wasn't involved.
Really?
But I mean, there's dope pops all around the county.
This was a huge one though. This was multi-agency. Started
for medicinal purposes.
Let's see, 1,200 marijuana plants, street value of $600,000. West Contra Costa Narcotics Task Force took them down all through North Richmond and Richmond. 25 people arrested. I guess that would be.
I mean, that seems like a small one, actually, to me. There's, especially with all the foreclosures going on now, the growers are just breaking into houses, putting new locks on it, and setting up everything. Every bedroom in the house becomes a grow room. We had one out where I work. The house got foreclosed on, and they had something like 500 or 600 plants growing in there. They had the nursery downstairs with the little small plants that they were starting, and then upstairs all the bedrooms were converted into grow rooms with ventilation systems. They had tapped into PG&E into the backyard. They had the dry room for hanging the plants to dry, and these things are all over every city, every county, all over the place. So, what you're saying there, that doesn't sound like a real large operation compared to what's really out there.
So you're saying that my buddy who will remain nameless, who has a backyard that backs up onto a huge open space that the sheriff's office went up there and pulled $1 million worth of pot plants out of because some guy was growing them up there without his knowledge, that's a bigger deal then. That's
a drop in the bucket.
So, I mean, I guess the question is marijuana that big of a problem? I mean, is that really something we should be concentrating on?
Well, it is.
Well, it is, but the courts are sending mixed signals.
Okay.
On what they're going to enforce.
DAs aren't even filing on some cases. I mean, it just, with budget cuts and everything, let's just say it's not a big priority. Can you still get arrested for it? Yes. Will it still go on your record? Yes. Are they actually going to file through and follow with it? Who knows? Depends on the county and the DA and everything, but it's just not a big priority right now.
Dude, I had this guy out on a boat, and he's looking all suspicious, and he's got a fishing line or a fishing pole outside the boat up against this levee shore of an island, and there's no line attached to the fishing pole. It just looks like he's fishing, and I'm going, that's kind of weird. So I pull up alongside the boat, and
why is that weird, John?
You're like a detective.
Yeah,
and he's got this. I'm cool like that, but he's got this blue tarp over the back of the boat, and he's sitting in a very small area. And when I approached downwind, you could get this just strong odor of some ripe marijuana. So I pull up alongside. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Fishing." And I go, "Yeah, okay, move the tarp." So he pulls back the tarp, and there's 6 pot plants that were raring to go. I mean, they look like pretty healthy plants. And I said, "You're kidding me." I go, "What are you doing out here with this?" He goes, "Well, I was looking for a place to grow them because I can't do it at home." So I called our narcotics unit, and they said, "Does he have more than 6 plants?" I said, "No, he's got 6." And they said, "Hey, there's nothing we can do about it."
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, he's going out to this island out in the Delta to start a grow. Now, granted, when I used to fly over the Delta, I mean, grows were easy to find from the air, and I've found grows in the past that were 90 to 100 plants that were very they were a very extravagant system of using the tides to irrigate the crops. And if you remember being in high school and reading that magazine High Times, the centerfold always showed these dynamite plants that were just like the cream of the crop. And these plants were right up there on that level. I mean, they were some potent stuff. But you can't find out who's doing it unless you're actually out there and catching the people taking care of it, right off the get-go. But this guy out on the Delta that's going to start a grow, there's nothing we can do with him because the DA is not going to file a case on him.
And with laws now, all someone has to do is say it's for medicinal purposes. And whether he's got his card or not, there's all kinds of legalities. If you take his pot, department got sued because they confiscated a bunch of plants. And of course, they died in the evidence room. The guy ended up suing and winning. And the department had to pay him for what the plants were worth because they couldn't return it to him in the condition when they were seized. I mean, a lot of departments now, sometimes it's not even worth it, especially with the medicinal stuff. We have there's a big, huge superstore that opened up in one of the bigger cities out here. And it's just a huge, huge pot growing superstore. They've got everything you need to grow pot, hydroponics, the lighting, the ventilation. They have contractors there that'll help you plan your room and sell you everything. They have the contractors that'll come out and set the room up for you with everything you buy there. And they even have an on-site doctor that'll write you a prescription for your ailment. Yeah, and so when you have stuff like that going on, I mean, it's almost like it's legal now. It's not even worth it sometimes.
You're going to have to send
it. It's not just marijuana, though. I mean, in my own opinion, methamphetamine is probably one of the most dangerous drugs in the world. And
it is, but they take a harder line against that. But
in the old day, and I mean, not all that long ago, if anyone had a usable amount of crank on them, it was a felony crime, and you got booked, you went to jail, and with no priors, you got 3 years felony probation or 90 days at the county jail, and then the next time it was slam dunk. But now, with this Prop 36, no prior record, it's a misdemeanor, and we're going to send you to drug school and counseling, and it's a joke.
You get more time for being under the influence. That's a mandatory 90 days in jail. You get more time for being under the influence than getting caught with crank for the first time, it seems. Anyway, we beat
shooting a deer.
Yeah, we beat this one down worse than that deer story. So let's move on to the next one.
So there's breaking news that New York officials just shut down the Kennedy Bridge, the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge, because somebody abandoned a U-Haul truck on it. I would assume they're on high alert.
After that scare they just had with that nut, with that SUV.
Hey, I mean, no. Let's get this straight. I always drive around with gas cans, propane tanks, fertilizer, and other explosives in my car and leave it running with the hazard lights on in Times Square all the time.
Well, at least he left the hazard lights on to warn people.
Yeah.
That was considerate. And you never know when you're going to run out of gas. So what's the problem with carrying extra gas in your vehicle?
Or need to barbecue.
Know if your glaucoma gets out of hand and you need to start a grow of marijuana plants, why not have the fertilizer in your car next to the gasoline?
And the propane.
And if you're in such pain you lose track of time, why not have an alarm clock with wires hooked up to the fertilizer so that you know what time it is to plant your grow?
I agree. Maybe it was just a terrible misunderstanding.
I think that's the court case summed up in 3 seconds right there.
Yeah. Dude, if that guy needs an attorney, I'm thinking of changing careers here.
Yeah, I think he'll be needing an attorney, all right.
Now,
well, I'll try to follow this story and see. Hopefully this is just a broken down truck, but we'll see.
So I guess we can get on to one that's going to take a little bit of time here because we're going to run out of time. Somebody asked me a very good question on who determines when a pursuit is terminated. And back in the old day, if they ran, you chased them. I mean, if they had a tail light out and you hit the lights and they took off, you chased them until the wheels fell off the car, and it was accepted back then. But with the liabilities now, because the officers have to slow down at the intersections, they have to take the precautions. The bad guys, they just punch it. They go through the red lights. They don't obey any laws. With all the people that have been getting injured and killed, lawsuits are being brought against the police departments. And based on this liability, a lot of police departments have rewritten their pursuit policies and basically determine when a pursuit should be initiated, when it should be called off. I mean, technically, the supervisor has the authority to terminate a pursuit because he's monitoring it on the air. And the officer also has the right to terminate the pursuit. If he feels it's getting too dangerous, he'll stop the pursuit. But there's so much involved in this. Jim?
Well, it's kind of funny because I was going to bring up a question I'd like to hear you and Brent answer, and that's, over the last 15 or so years of your career, what have you really changed your stance on from when you started as a rookie to now? And one of mine is pursuits. And like you said, one of mine is, like you said, pursuits.
Right.
For the most minor thing, it'd be game on no matter what. And now, even for a 10851, a stolen car, I don't get all that excited about it. The only reason why I will get involved is because my partners are involved, and I don't want to see, anyone get hurt, or you don't know if they need cover or what. I mean, no one's going to pursue a car by themselves, but the first thing you hear is so-and-so's in pursuit of a 10851. My first thought is, well, why'd the person leave the keys in the car? Or why was the car unlocked? It's like property crimes are property crimes, but life is different. And you're chasing these cars at 80 to 100 miles an hour, and you're endangering so many lives.
I think it's safe to say that most police departments have swayed over now to where they used to let officers chase, like I said, until the people gave up. And, back then, a lot of people, not as many people ran because they knew the police were going to keep chasing them. They were going to get caught. Now, it seems like the bad guys try to think the crazier they drive, they're getting on the freeways, going the wrong way, going down the roadways on the wrong side of the road. They think if they could drive crazy enough, the police officer will stop chasing them. And in a lot of instances, that's true. But what they don't realize is what they may have turned a little misdemeanor pursuit, failure to yield, into a felony pursuit when they start driving like that. So they could create a felony.
And 80-90% of the time, the people run for some stupid reason that they wouldn't have even potentially had any problems with anyway. And right. Then they go into a huge pursuit, and then they have felony charges against them.
Yeah, they had a little warrant. They didn't have a driver's license. They didn't have insurance. They had a pocket full of dope. I mean,
but let's not. I mean, the CHP, for an example, in California, they will chase you until everybody in the department runs out of fuel.
That is true. They'll
never
get
give
on your
up.
Tail, and you cannot outrun them.
Yeah, and they will just continue from section to section, getting new people involved until you run out of gas or you get tired and fall asleep at the wheel.
Now
awesome.
Most cities, they'll terminate the pursuit if it gets to be too dangerous for certain things. Now, if there's an assault on a police officer, if it's an assault with a deadly weapon suspect, a serious crime, bank robbers, something like that, they're not going to stop chasing you. They're going to keep chasing you. They'll bring CHP into the chase, the helicopters. It'll go from one city to another. For serious crimes, they're not going to stop chasing them. But for the minor ones, like Jim said, property crimes, the guy, or you don't even know, guy's got a brake light out, you hit the lights and he takes off. Most departments aren't going to let you keep chasing somebody like that.
And they're going to terminate the pursuit. And most departments have rewritten their rules when it comes to motorcycle pursuits, too.
Yeah, I was in one, when I was on motors, I was in one that went probably a good 20 miles, and before anybody actually caught up to me to help me make the stop. But yeah, it is dangerous. If a motorcycle's chasing somebody, the minute a car gets into the chase, the car becomes the primary unit, and the motorcycle is supposed to back off.
I was thinking not as a motor officer, as you in a car chasing a motorcycle.
Oh, okay, that too.
because that is what they've found in the past, as far as I know, is when the guy, hits the gas, the next thing he does is hit a tree. So trying to run. So, and
again, it depends on the crime.
Don't they call that karma?
Yeah, it's karma all over the tree.
If it's a property crime, a lot of times the pursuit's going to get terminated, and they'll try to find other ways to get the guy. I mean, a lot of cities now have cameras at major intersections, and they could get still shots of people's faces and whatnot. So hopefully they could track them down. But if it's a serious crime, they're not going to stop the pursuit.
All right. Anything else we want to add to that? How many pursuits have you been in, Mark?
I'd say probably a good 75 to 100, maybe.
Like legit, full-on, full-blown pursuits with multiple vehicles.
Yeah, when I first started, it was basically you chased them just because they ran. And motorcycles, cars, and most of the time when a pursuit lasts any amount of time, you have, back in the old days, you'd have, it looked like a Christmas tree. You'd have, 8 or 10 police cars in the pursuit. But with the policies being refined, you're supposed to have the chase car and then 2 other cars behind it, one being a supervisor. And other units are always in the area because they're going to monitor it. They're going to be on the side streets. They're going to call what they call tailing the pursuit. So if the guy crashes or bails out, they could set up a perimeter really quick. But most departments limit the amount of cars that could be in a pursuit.
Yeah, I mean,
Mark, I think the term is trailing, not tailing. Okay.
Yeah, okay, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. How many pursuits have you been in? Oh, no, wait. Maybe I should rephrase that. How many pursuits have you caused?
Where I've tailed one or trailed one?
That would be more, how many accidents has Jim caused?
How many pursuits have you either initiated or been involved with in your career?
Way too many.
What does that mean?
We've lost radio contact with Jim. Could be because he's 2 counties away still chasing the person without permission.
That would never happen.
When I was younger.
What you're talking about.
It only happened when I was younger.
All right. Well, hey, how about pursuits on the water? Have you dealt with that yet?
Yeah.
And?
Yeah. Half are okay because our boats keep up with them and we manage to stop them. And then half are embarrassing because it's usually an offshore boat that does in excess of 120. And so it was pretty cool because a couple 4th of July a couple years ago, it was right at dark, and this offshore came around this blind corner like at full speed and almost took us out. And it didn't have nav lights on. And I turned my boat around, which does about 50 or so, and tried to catch this guy and down this straight, long, wide slough and couldn't do it. But I radioed to dispatch and said, hey, have the other 2 Marine units stand by at the railroad bridge.
Was that the one that crashed into my friend's dock and destroyed his dock?
No, that was different. That was a 10851 attempt.
Okay.
But in this one, the sergeant and the other boat crew basically blocked the bridge with their boats, and this guy had no alternative but to stop. So it's the only time I've ever caught an offshore boat that tried to run from me. But yeah, it does happen on the water. Jet skis, boats, everybody.
So no different. As in, it's just there's idiots both places.
Yeah, except out on the river, you don't have a whole lot of cover, on the land.
And like with all of these, you can't outrun the radio is what it comes down to.
Or the majority of pursuits
or the helicopter
that a city police officer gets into, the guy tries to get a little distance on the officer and he bails out of the car, jumps out and runs, starts hitting fences, or he crashes. That's the way the majority of them end. I mean, if they get into the freeway, then they could go longer distances. But the majority ones around town, they usually either crash in a short amount of time or they bail out of the car.
Yeah, usually not the best.
We need to look at this in the right way, not the wrong way, because if you're pursuing in a town with predominantly more white people, you're probably going to get in more white pursuits versus if you're pursuing.
Are you going somewhere with this?
But, on the other hand, Jim, most of the time a pursuit is just a misdemeanor. But if the guy intentionally hit a deer, then it becomes animal cruelty, and that's a felony. So then it's a felony pursuit.
That's just an accident.
I said
All right.
intentionally.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So,
No, that is funny though how your views change on that, because when I was younger and a supervisor would evaluate the circumstances and terminate a pursuit, I would be livid. I'd go through the roof. I'd be pissed. Sometimes I'd act like I couldn't hear the radio, and I'd continue, and I'd get in trouble, but I felt like I was doing the right thing. But now, and looking back on it and being a little older and a little wiser, some of these departments flat out have policies prohibiting pursuing related property crimes. Like if a car is a stolen car, you won't pursue it. You'll get the plate and you'll find it later unoccupied and you'll get it back to the owner, but you're not going to risk the public's well-being or officers' well-being chasing a property crime.
What's funny is the fresh rookies out of the academy. I mean, they just don't understand, when a supervisor tells them terminate the pursuit. And understandably so. Yeah, everybody wants to catch the bad guy, but they just haven't been a cop long enough to see the aftermath of, the bad guy plowing into a family at an intersection and wiping out a whole family, because the guy's in a stolen car being chased by the police. And, once you've been a cop for a while and you hear about that with other departments and see it, then it starts making more sense that it's just not worth chasing these guys just for a property crime. Again, a serious crime, hey, we're going to keep chasing, but for property crime, it's not worth, the human life loss.
When I worked the west end of the county, you would have these little idiots trying to get, what do they call it when you get into a gang? Initiated?
Yeah.
Yeah. They would have to, when they saw a cop or a deputy, they'd have to spin their tires in an intersection and try and, get the cop to get into a chase and lead them on a pursuit. And then you'd bail out of the car, let it crash into something parked on the side of the road, and then a foot chase, and if you got away, you were a hero and got into the gang. And if you didn't, then you got to hang with all the homies in jail. But, now I have the feeling, hey, if you want to drive like an idiot, friggin' knock yourself out. It's your transmission, your tires, everything else. They actually get mad if you don't pursue them. Meaning the bad guy, not your.
Well, we don't want to let them down now, do we?
No, you don't want to let them down.
Yeah. There's always so the rules. The ones I live by is there's always tomorrow, right? So this is a huge game on a daily basis that we play, and I'm gonna come back to work tomorrow, and I'll just catch you tomorrow. So if it becomes so dangerous that especially me working as a reserve, if it becomes a danger issue above and beyond. For whatever reason, and there's not a really good reason to continue.
Sometimes the public doesn't understand, because there was an incident last week where a murder suspect was being pursued by sheriff's deputies into the city, and at a dead end, the guy jumped out and rushed the officers with a knife, and they shot him. But there was uproar from the neighbors. Oh, the police cars were driving down so fast down our street. There were kids out there playing. They didn't take into account the kids. And, it's one of those things where, some people just don't understand. It wasn't, they weren't chasing them just for a taillight out or something. This was a murder suspect. And when you're chasing a murder suspect, the pursuits are going to get dangerous. And, and you got to look at it both ways. You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you stop chasing a car and it turns out the guy was a rapist, then there's going to be uproar. Why the police stop chasing this rapist? Now he's at loose in our city. So there's a lot of things involved with pursuits.
Well, and I think a lot of this is, I know some of this is explained in the book, but other aspects of it is when you are let's say you're a cop in a car daily basis. You're reading the stuff that's on the computer. You're dealing with multitasking all the time. You're listening to the radio, the scanner, dealing with cell phone calls, doing all this different stuff. When you're on a pursuit, you're doing the same thing. You're multitasking everything that's going on around you. You're doing all this, and you're trained to do it. Most people can't even handle one phone call while they're driving.
And on top of that, your adrenaline is kicked way up.
Well, I'm not going to say I agree with that 100% because maybe when I started, it was like that, but now later on, I look at everybody else all jacked up.
if I'm not talking about jacked up, but I'm just saying your heart rate's up. I mean, sometimes they try to keep you from getting tunnel vision, but I mean, when you're in a pursuit, it's not like you're just, out driving your patrol car. The adrenaline, the heart rate, everything goes up.
Right.
It just happens.
Well, and I was watching racing I think it's this brand new racing series that was on TV last week. They were showing, and they have the heart rate of the guys that are in the cars while they're driving. And one guy and these guys are all top athletes, 193 sustained heart rate for an hour and a half. That's pretty crazy. So, but
that's my normal pulse rate.
Yeah, that's a problem. You should get some medication.
Hang on, I gotta get another coffee. I'll be right back.
So yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, it's changed a lot through my career. I know that much. But I guess when you're listening to a scanner, you can tell who's new and who's not, because I think one of the best stories that I have is when we literally watched a plane crash up by this end of the county that I live in, and the guy that was watching it and calling it in as it was crashing, and he was rushing to the scene, was absolutely the coolest head you could imagine. And he literally said, "Yeah, I see the plane. It appears to be, it's crashed." So it's just it's just one of those things.
Were they pursuing the plane?
No, that was I'll tell you the name of who that guy was later, Jim. It was funny. You'd go, "Oh, I get it."
Gotcha.
He was one of those guys that never raised his voice ever. He just sort of talk through everything.
Yep.
But that's the way you do it. You get kind of seasoned to it, you might say.
Yeah, you hear the new guys in a pursuit, and they're screaming. Nobody can understand what street they're on, and they're lost. They don't know the area they're in, and you could definitely tell somebody that's
absolutely
stressing out new people.
It's not like I sit around and watch TV a lot, but there was this documentary series on cable, I think A&E, called Auto Theft Task Force. And I think it was Philadelphia or somewhere back east. But these guys were in unmarked, friggin' giant 4x4 SUVs with heavy-duty bumpers and door panels and everything else. And they would actually set up, surveillance of a vehicle and trail it, Mark, not tail it, but trail it. And when they got all their units in position, then they'd give the word. And when the dude actually stopped for a red light, you'd see this monster pickup block the front end, both side doors, and the back. And all the dude could do is go, "All right, I'm busted." But, the tact that they used and the patience, I mean, that's the way to get it done. Not letting a car get on the freeway doing 110 miles an hour on the wrong side of the freeway at 5 in the afternoon.
But one thing that's really helped bring pursuits to an end also is spike strips. We have those in all of our cars now, and that's the coolest thing when you work. I mean, sometimes they swerve around them if they see them, but I'll tell you, it's a really satisfying feeling when the pursuit's coming your way and you pull those spike strips out and you watch it go over the suspect vehicle, go over it and flatten out a couple of his tires, because that pursuit's coming to an end real quick.
Yeah, I use those in my personal life all the time. When I need to get the UPS guy to stop, I just throw that out there.
There you go.
It works good.
Or you get the rookie officer that doesn't pull it out of the way because he's so excited.
Yeah, and everybody goes flat.
Yeah, all the patrol cars go over it too. So.
Yeah,
dude, I heard like 4 cars get disabled in one pursuit from that. And I think it was guys at my brother's agent. No, it couldn't have been from there.
Oh, it could have been.
Hey, I worked for a towing company that we went after. We went out to a call where there was a whole bunch of CHP guys out there, and they had all driven into the same ditch, all together, following each other. Whoops.
Yeah, there's that tunnel vision.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Nice job, guys. We'll get you all out. 1 fee.
So the bottom line is, who calls off a pursuit? The officer chasing the suspect can call the pursuit if it gets unsafe. And more often than not, it's a supervisor monitoring the pursuit.
Right.
Because the officer is supposed to be calling out his speed, traffic conditions, all
Reason.
that. So
Reason for the pursuit, correct?
Right. That's the biggest one. You'll hear most supervisors right off the bat say, "What's the reason for the pursuit?"
Traffic only.
Yeah, and don't, and yeah, exactly.
Count line out.
He looked at me
I
funny.
think he's headed for Modesto.
Well, if we
On that note, why don't we wrap this thing up?
well, because we're 50 minutes into the show and we have 3 questions to do.
No, we could save the questions. We're going to bore people here.
Only if you keep talking.
Okay, Brent.
You know what? I think my question was the best one of the night. And I'm going to start with Mark. Mark, in the last 15, 18, whatever years since you started, since that day I got to pin the badge on your
that was 20 years ago, Jim, but thanks for remembering.
Whatever. But I remember it like it was yesterday. I just don't remember how many years it was. But what have you completely changed your beliefs or your mindset on from the time that you started as a rookie?
Well, believing that you could save the world. Because you can't. There's always going to be stupid people out there. When you first start, you think, you could help people, they arrest them, you're going to be able to turn them around and whatnot. But you see the revolving door. You become cynical. When I first started, my wife said, "You're going to become cynical." And I said, "No, I'm not." Believe me, you become cynical. You see the worst of the worst, and you can't help but becoming a little cynical. I think that's one reason we wrote the book, Jim. You see the stupid mistakes that people make day in and day out. The same mistakes over and over and over again. And it used to be that I really cared about every single time someone left their keys in the car and their car got stolen. And now I kind of turn around and say, God, how could you make, I don't say it to them, but I think, how could you make such a stupid mistake? And
I say it to them.
I think I become a lot more cynical than I used to be. And the other thing I've really changed is, like we just talked about, the pursuits. It's just not worth the liability. I don't need the bad guy, living in my house, because I did something that, that I shouldn't have. So
that's a good answer. Brent, what have you changed your beliefs on all this time?
He has a pellet problem now that
I don't want to seem like I agree with what Mark says, because that would just make me look bad. But
did I make myself look bad?
No, I
do care about people, but it just seeing the same mistakes over and over and over again. Sometimes
he meant it would make him look bad copying you because he has loose pellet problem.
I don't want to drag you into my condition. So literally, I guess for me, part of it is what Mark said, which is the issue of not being able to save the world. I don't think I ever went into law enforcement to save the world. I went into law enforcement to help people. The problem is that I found out, sadly, that there's a lot more dumb people than smart people.
You probably had a higher expectation of what you could do.
I did, and I think that the sad part is that when you finally get out there and you hit the street, and I see this a lot now that I'm starting to become involved more with hiring new reserves, and through the hiring process, that you get the questions in the oral boards, what can I do to help? Why are you doing this? Well, I'm doing it so that I can help the community and I want to get crime off the street. Well, I don't want to tell the guy that ain't going to happen. That's job security, crime on the street. You don't want it all gone. But then again, we do. But it's a tough balancing act. I guess for me, it's more. It's different than being a full timer, though, Jim. I mean, I don't know if I'm in it for the same reasons on all aspects as what you guys might have gotten into it for. I started as a citizen. I don't get paid to do what I do. I don't look at it like a job. I look at it as something that I give back to the community. So it's my way of doing something good for the community. It's not me trying to go out there, or me having a badge for power, or any of those other issues that, sadly, I think there's cops out there that have those issues also. But I think it was a big reality check. I tell you that much. I think I found out more about our society in the past 15 or 20 years of doing law enforcement than I've done anything else. You learn about every aspect of the society, good and bad. A lot of bad.
It's definitely a very unique learning opportunity.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I won't say arguing, But I would say conversing with somebody on Twitter the other night where they had made some off-the-wall comment and I was in a crummy mood, so I mouthed off. And they said something to the effect of, cops this, F the police, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? The police say that right back to you. And then we got into a little argument there, and it ended up being that he was pulled over for something in his city, and he didn't know why why was because they pulled him over because his car matched the same suspect down the road, and he felt that he was being, everything under the sun was wrong with the cops for pulling him over because his car matched the suspect that was in some robbery or something down the street, which was explained to him at the car stop. And at the end of that, though, he actually said, you know what, I think you're right. Maybe I was looking at that wrong and I was just pissed off.
And I know people bash the police a lot, but you know what? I wish one day, that they advertised it well in advance, that on one particular day, all the police officers are going to take the day off. There's not going to be one cop on the street, and let the media advertise it. Watch what would happen.
Yeah,
and I think that would make people appreciate the police. I mean, whether people like the police or not, they are what they call the thin blue line that keeps civilization from just going under.
Well, let me agree and disagree. That for me personally, I don't do things wrong because I know they're wrong. I don't go out and say the cops are going to bust me because, I was raised by parents that told me there's things you do that are right and there's things you do that are wrong. If you do stuff wrong, you're going to get smacked or you're going to get arrested. Okay, well, fine. So I don't know how in my mind, though, I could ever look at a convenience store and going in and robbing a convenience store and go somehow and saying that's okay in my head, unless we're being invaded.
No,
and I need water.
You're a normal law-abiding citizen.
Yeah, but what makes you law-abiding? What's the difference between a law-abiding citizen?
The way you're raised. The examples that parents have set, or should I say that have not set. It's the way people are raised. Some people, if they're raised where they see mom and dad being arrested every other week, in and out of jail, making money by selling dope and whatnot, that's the way they're raised. That's the way they feel life should be because they haven't seen anything different.
So it becomes okay, is what you're saying. It's somehow in their head, it's the normal. It's norm.
Right. And like I mentioned in the book, I think, I tell people the majority of law-abiding citizens, work their job during the day. They go home, they eat dinner, they watch a little TV, they go to sleep, they wake up the next morning, they go back to work, start all over again. Most cops have to start out working graveyard shift, and that is an eye-opener because you see what's going on. When most people are asleep in their bed, they don't realize that there's people out there walking through their neighborhood in the middle of the night, checking door handles, checking windows on houses and doors on houses, breaking into cars. That's their job. The criminals, that's their job at nighttime. And most people, law-abiding citizens, don't realize what is out there at night. They don't realize the danger. And that's something that we see when you become a cop. You see that. You see the bad part of civilization. And sometimes it's overwhelming.
I guess it has a lot to do with being raised well. I drive to work every day, and I can tell you that, I probably don't obey the speed limit every day. And I could also say that in the back of my head, I'm telling myself, you know what, you're doing something wrong. So, I'm not obeying that rule. But on the flip side of that, I've told a lot of people, and what they've done is they go, yeah, whatever, you just talk. Yeah, well, go do a ride along. Get into a car one day, go out with your local law enforcement guys and see what we get to see on a daily basis. And you will be amazed after one night of riding in a town that's, pretty hopping.
Active.
Yeah, if you go into that city and it's hopping, you will go, oh my God, look at this mess that we have out here that we have to, and you guys have to deal with this every night, and that's what I get from the feedback, and even from new reserves that are starting to come in. Hey, go on a ride along first. Maybe you should determine if you really want to do this job. Go out, check it out, and see if you come back that night and go, yeah, I could do this for the rest of my life.
We've had a lot of officers come to our department. We're a pretty active department. We've had lots of officers come out and they don't make it through field training. They just can't handle all the stress and what they see.
All right, so let's turn this question back around on Jim. So
Yeah, I think the best pursuit I've ever heard of is where the suspect jumped into a pool of manure.
And if you missed that, listen to our last number. What is it? Number 6?
yeah,
Yep. Listen to number 6.
the pool of manure episode.
Pool of manure. Now
No,
let's wrap this up and save the
hearing you
questions.
guys. It's
No, I want to hear what Jim's is, Jim.
No, it's interesting hearing you guys say this, and your answers are completely. I mean, there is no right answer or a white answer, but
What's your answer? Did you say what you feel on this question?
it's pretty much evaluating, almost that thing of pursuits. You evaluate what you're going to get fired up about and what you're not, and it's like the kid growing up that was a 19 or 20 or 21-year-old rebel, and the cops suck, and you're squealing your tires up and down the street, leaving your tire marks for your neighbors to get all pissed off about. But then 20 years down the road, you're the one calling the cop because the neighbor kid down the street's revving his motor at 2 in the morning and leaving skid marks and doing the exact same thing that you were doing as a kid, only now you're the one getting pissed off about it and calling the cops about it. And it's like everybody's outlook on life changes, and it's got to do with age and maturity and background and upbringing and 100 different things. But I really base my judgment. I mean, I still give 110%. My involvement with pursuits or chases or perimeters more so goes towards, a real bad guy. I mean, a serious felon is someone that we all want to catch.
Right.
But for the most part, I'm there because of the teamwork that goes into police work. And the more you work as a team, the safer everyone is and the better the results are. But to arbitrarily say, I'm going to chase that guy who's got a headlight out, I could really give it, I don't care about your headlight. If you get rear-ended one night because a drunk doesn't see your lights on the back of the car, well, you can't fix stupid spelled with a K for can't, and that's just the bottom line.
And you'll see that a lot with the age of officers too. Young rookies, so, if some guy runs, they start chasing him, they start jumping fences. They got to get this guy. They get tunnel vision, they're going to get this guy. Whereas if it's, an officer that has retirement within sight, he's going to say, why am I going to risk blowing a knee out for something so minor? And he'll get on the radio and he'll get a perimeter set, and he'll do it the easy way. You get the perimeter set, you do the yard-to-yard search, you get the guy. You don't blow out a knee or whatever.
You calmly walk over to where you saw him, and you find the idiot dropped his cell phone or his friggin' ID, in his wallet.
I think everybody has seen that type of situation in movies and TV where the young guy's portrayed one way and the old, curmudgeon cop is the other way, and the curmudgeon always wins because
Channel 2, Lady Gaga's on. Sorry, Brent.
I still get excited over a pursuit, and I still get excited setting up a perimeter and looking for the bad guy. But it's not like the old days where some guy runs on me and I'm going to start hitting fences and darting across, freeways trying to chase this guy. Because you know what, I want to retire, without broken bones and blown out knees and everything. And I'm a lot closer to it now than when I was younger. And you realize when you get older that there's other ways to catch this guy besides just, chasing.
Well, you gotta be smart. You gotta do smart police work, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. And I grew up Jim, I think I met you when I was 18, maybe.
Yeah.
Earlier. I learned next to Jim and with good officers. I picked the officers I could learn with. And
you notice he said next to Jim and good officers?
Well, yeah. Legend in his own mind. That
wasn't funny, Mark. That wasn't even funny.
It was trying to be nice, but Mark had to ruin it. So the answer to that, though, is I learned law enforcement with guys that were very good at what they did, and also picked officers that weren't the young guys. And it was very interesting to be able to diversify myself from the other group, because when we go to an alarm call, we would handle it totally differently as a team of two, even though I was 18 or 19 and an older guy with me. We handled it totally differently than two rookie cops were, and we would actually sit there and watch the rookies go to the call and be like, what are they doing? And so I learned, I was lucky. I learned early. You got to make those decisions. You got to make that work early on. That's a great discussion. I think we probably need to talk about that more later on. And I think the other aspect of this that I want to talk about is what, after all these years of being in law enforcement, what are still the hot topics for you? Like, what really ticks you off? What's the one crime that you go to that really is the one that you want to spend extra time on to make sure that it gets solved?
Maybe that's something that, that's something we should save for another show.
No, and I think we might. What I'll do is we'll wrap this up. I'll give out what we're going to talk about next week. I have a few topics for next week, but just real quick on that, just for the people that care. And I mean, this isn't
crimes involving kids. Children.
Well, no, that's a whole nother show. So that New York thing, it ended up just being a broken down U-Haul truck.
Well, you just asked me the crime that really ticks me off.
No, I don't want to know about it now.
Oh, jeez.
Said it's for next week. You don't even listen.
It's pretty sad when we're in a society where you can't even rent a U-Haul that breaks down and hike up to the phone to call for help. You have to leave a note in the windshield saying, I am not a terrorist. My rented truck is not full of ammonia and fertilizer and gasoline. Please don't shoot me on sight.
The sad part about that is every U-Haul I've ever rented is broken down.
Sorry, U-Haul.
I'll just carry one of those signs with me. So let's wrap it up. So for next week, there's a couple questions that we missed for this week. What's the difference between city, county, and state police? What happens if I miss my date in court, as in what is the recourse that the court has, and what do I have to do to maybe hopefully call in ahead of time or whatever that might be? And if I decide to go to court to fight my ticket and sort of fight my case, what should I expect when I get in there? And then I know we've been asked by a couple listeners, to try to at least look into the Arizona immigration law issue. And that's a topic I sort of want to touch with a 20-foot pole, but I want to read about a little bit more of it before I say anything about it.
We'll do some research. And if we do use that question, Alex in Kansas gets a free book.
Yeah, so
Alex from where, Mark?
Hello, Kansas.
Oh, my God.
And then we'll answer.
I really want to tune in next week because Lady Gaga is going to be a guest.
That would be an eye opener.
Announce our engagement together, and my partner Tommy is probably puking right now because he can't stand her. But yeah. I am going to marry Lady Gaga. But the bottom line is, the reason why we wrote Cop Talk is because of the phrase "There's never a cop around when you need one." This happened to me. There's never a cop around. I had to wait 20 minutes for a cop to get there. There's never a cop around when you need one. The reason why there's never a cop around when you need one, or why a cop can't stop something or recognize something before it happens, is because we're chasing cold paper from all the, can I say stupid?
You could say stupid, yeah.
All the stupid things that people don't think about and don't use common sense for, resulting in ridiculous thefts that take us hours and hours to write paper on. Thefts that probably we're never going to get your stuff back, and it's ridiculous.
Like my daughter's friend last night left his wallet in his truck, even though he was in his garage, and somebody from another city came by, opened up his truck, stole his wallet, his unlocked truck, took his wallet, and left. That kind of cold paper that happens on a nightly basis and happened to my daughter's friend last night.
If you weren't taking a report on that kind of ridiculous theft, then the cop might be able to cruise a neighborhood and go, hey, you know what? That truck with out-of-state plates doesn't look right here. And I'm going to sit down the street and watch for the person to come back and formulate a reason to make a stop and find out who this person is. And then the dude's got out-of-state warrants. He's a parolee on parole for burglary. You hook him, end of story, victory for the good guys. But not being informed really hampers our efforts. So that's why we wrote the book Cop Talk. It's 288 pages of what you can do to make your life safer. Check it out on the website. And I'm sorry, Brent, what were you saying?
I don't know. I think we should. No, I mean, I think I like this little end part of the show where we sort of rap about some issue like that. So maybe that's something, not literally sing about it, but
just protect your devices. That's
it's good to sort of get to be a little bit more personal on some of these issues that really either make us mad or some of these things that we've learned over our careers. So,
question is, no, I think there's a green light here, but should I protect myself with Lady Gaga? There's obviously
that note,
Jim, if I
probably very well established, and I think if I protect my assets,
I think we're getting off course here, Jim.
I think
a prenuptial agreement.
Jim, I think
a prenuptial agreement would be.
Connected to it.
I think that I know you're saying that just for Tommy. So the issue is you've given me a lot of good advice in my life. I'm going to give you some good advice. You should protect yourself for that.
Thank you.
Let's wrap it up. So website, coptalk.info. Please subscribe on iTunes and review us, good or bad.
Please send in ideas. Send in questions. Send in your comments. Right, wrong, if you like it, if you don't like it. But send them in, and send in the city you're at to get a special shout out from us next week.
Yeah, and if you want Mark to shut up during the closing so he doesn't interrupt Brent every time, you can say you can talk about that too.
Jim just went on a 15-minute rampage about Lady Gaga, and you get on me.
It dawned on me. Mark reminds me of Ed Sullivan. And instead of just saying, folks, please call in, it's tonight we have a really, really big show in Modesto. Just whip it out, Mark.
Here's Jim.
And on that, I think this show is done and a wrap, and we'll be back next week for episode 8.
Mark, did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I did. How about you, Jim?
I had a great time. Brent, did you enjoy yourself?
I always enjoy myself when talking with you guys.
I look forward to doing it again next week.
All right. See you all next week.
See you next week.
Everyone be safe out there.